Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, opening day 2024 was tomorrow. It is now Friday when the Phils host those Atlanta Braves. The Flyers are in a dogfight down the stretch with just 9 games remaining after last night's overtime loss and the Caps' overtime win. They just sit 1 point ahead with the Caps with 2 games in hand. That's not good. Sixers have fallen into the 8th spot as this season is getting away from them. I don't even know what to think about that. We will catch up on some Eagles transactions that we missed last week. Make all our Phillies season predictions. And what about March Madness? It's been pretty wild so far. As always, there's plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Yeah, regarding the Eagles, over the past week, we heard from Saquon Barkley, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, even Jeffrey Lurie. And you're right about the Sixers, man. Things aren't going off the rails a bit. The Flyers, too, going to be interesting final 3 weeks for both teams for sure. And yes, another Phillies opening day. I will be there. It is Friday now, as you said, in case you missed that news. Postponed because of that forecast. Always a fun day, even though there almost always seems to be weather concerns this time of year up in the Northeast.
Yeah, well, it is March, coming up on April, so who in the world knows? It might also be very cold too, and I guess the reason for the 3 o'clock start.
Yeah, a little chilly, a little windy.
Yep, absolutely. Well, hey, probably a good call to make. All the people that take off work for a 3 o'clock start and do all that for opening day. You don't want to wait until 2 o'clock when it's raining all day to make the call. When you, of
course, we know what happened last year. This is what they did last year. It ended up being a nice day on Thursday.
And it may very well happen again tomorrow. But what can you do? You got to go with the best information you have at the time, right?
Yes, indeed.
Or you got to take a second day off work. Some people might not mind that, but some might have a problem with it.
I'm doing it.
I hear you. Well, hey, we have a great guest tonight and radio voice of the Phillies, Scott Franzke, making a return visit to Philly Press Box as well.
Yeah, I know I speak for a lot of Phillies fans. I love listening to Scott calling the games on radio when, he does that all the time, and he occasionally fills in for T-Mac on TV. Always does a great job. We are fortunate to have those guys calling Phillies games, and we're fortunate to have gotten them on our show now 6 consecutive springs. We will get to Scott, by the way, around the bottom of the hour, so be sure to stick around for that, folks. And then we will make our Phillies predictions for the 2024 season.
The big question that people want to know, me including, did you dust off the Bedlam at the Bank clip? Because
not this year. No, I did it last year when we had him on. So I didn't do it 2 years in a row.
Oh, come on.
I didn't show him my teddy bear either.
Good. Or that little tiny hat you had on your head.
I did. Yeah, I have that here somewhere.
Well, hey, let's get started with some Eagles talk. Last week, we talked some about the defense. We talked about Saquon Barkley. So let's talk about the rest of the offense tonight and the free agent acquisitions they made. And let's start out with the signing of the local guy, Kenny Pickett, as their QB2. He's just 25 years old. He was a first-round pick just in 2022. I'm not sure if this means anything, but seems like an unusual move to me for a backup quarterback that's just 25 years old and a first-rounder just a minute ago. Then they followed that up this week by signing Will Grier as the QB3. He's another pretty young guy.
Yeah, regarding Pickett, I don't think there's anything overly mysterious. It's not like when they drafted Hurts, when they still had Wentz in the fold. It's different from that. Pickett's a guy who was largely disappointing as a Steelers draft pick and sometimes starter in his first 2 years in the league. But as you said, he's just 25 years old. He'll be 26 in June. and he may still have a lot of upside. So, it's a good pickup, I think. He can learn behind Hurts and, see all the great weapons that the Eagles have. He'll get to play certainly this preseason. Plus, he grew up in Ocean Township, New Jersey, as an Eagles fan, and he's got to be better than Marcus Mariota, right?
Well, you would think. And, I don't know that how disappointing he really was with the Steelers. The Steelers weren't very good. Their offensive line got old at the same time. And, he was 14-10 as a starter in his 25 games, threw 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I mean, he's a young quarterback that hasn't developed, which I guess to me is what is kind of surprising to make him QB2. But with that said, and to your point about Mariota, I think they didn't really have confidence in Mariota as they went down the stretch. And Hurts, I feel like he played hurt. It never did come out that he was hurt, but I think he played hurt a lot and tried to play through that because Mariota wasn't going to be the guy. And maybe they feel like we can't let that happen again.
Yeah, a lot of people expected the Eagles to announce at some point that Hurts was going to have some kind of procedure on the knee or whatever during the offseason. It never happened. So maybe it was just, a bruise or something, and it's going to be fine. We hope that's the case. But regarding Pickett, I think it's a fine signing. If Hurts does, get injured and has to miss a couple of games, I think they're going to be more confident with Pickett stepping in than they were last year with Mariota.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm just a little surprised. First of all, you don't see too many quarterbacks from the class of 2022. We're only in 2024. First rounder be available to begin with, but they got him. I like it. He's an Eagles fan, if nothing else, and he's home. And the best of luck to him. And hopefully he's really good, and he puts pressure on Hurts to continue to get better. That's really what they need, competition in all those rooms, and hopefully Pickett can be that guy.
And hey, you mentioned Saquon Barkley, and there's a lot of people who are wondering if the Eagles are really going to involve him a lot more than they have any other back in recent years. I heard even Ray Didinger say that he would love to see Barkley getting 25 touches a game, and who knows, maybe that will happen. As we discussed last week, he's got a good offensive line now. The turf is better here than it was at MetLife. He's got all the other weapons that defenses have to worry about. So, maybe they will use Barkley, at least in some games, give him 20, 25 touches a game. That'd be kind of cool.
I think they will. I think the big difference there is Kellen Moore. We know what Kellen Moore did with Ezekiel Elliott. As much as we didn't like the Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott had some really, really good years. And Kellen Moore was the guy calling those plays. They didn't win in the playoffs. They're not going to win in the playoffs because they stink. But Ezekiel Elliott did pretty good in that Kellen Moore offense. And why not Saquon Barkley? Because he's better than Ezekiel Elliott.
And Barkley's excited to be with the Eagles. He was on the Kelsey Brothers podcast yesterday, and he kind of dropped a hint to Jason to maybe consider coming out of retirement. I don't think that's going to happen, but
no.
I'm excited to see what he's going to look like in that Eagles backfield come this fall.
Me too. Well, hey, another interesting move was the signing of another wide receiver. They signed Devontae Parker kind of early in the free agency. Then they added Paris Campbell for some more depth. Not sure what's going on there either, unless we're just building guys up.
Yeah, neither guy's going to set the world on fire, but it's evidence that Quez Watkins wasn't the Eagles guy going forward. So those two, both of whom got 1-year contracts, can battle it out, I guess, for third receiver playing time. Campbell, a Giant last year, was with Nick in Indianapolis, was he not?
He was, absolutely, and he's got a little bit of an injury history. I think that's the drawback on Campbell.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, again, I don't think either of those signings was huge, but if they can contribute and get 20, 25 catches during the season, hey, we'll take them.
Yeah. And one final addition, former Temple Owls center Matt Hennessy is now an Eagle. Brought another hometown guy back, going to school with the Owls. That center position might get a little interesting based on some Nick Sirianni comments recently.
Oh, I didn't hear. I mean, Cam Jurgens is the guy everybody thinks is going to be the answer. It could be Landon Dickerson, maybe. I don't know. What do you know about Hennessy? Is he any
Well,
good?
he's a depth guy. He's got a few years in the league. I don't know that he's a starter, but he goes to Statland U. You never know what might happen there. But I saw where Sirianni said that he was not just given that job to Jurgens. Jurgens going to have to earn that center job. And I think that was probably thought that was going to be him. But, the one game late in the year when they actually did take Kelsey out, Dickerson is the one that went to center.
Right.
Because he was drafted as a center also before he became a Pro Bowl multi-billion-dollar guard in this league this year. So we'll see. Maybe Hennessy gets some playing time as well. And again, competition in those rooms is what it's all about. That's what's going to make them better. And I like this.
Yeah, I do too. And we still have to see what happens with Reddick. Maybe something will happen with Reddick on draft night. Who knows? Before we move on, though, Bill, I wanted to get your take on the NFL's rules changes. They're making some huge changes to the kickoffs that will allow for more returns, kind of like what the XFL did with, where you position the guys. And you should definitely get some returns out of that. But I wanted to ask you, and I think I know how you feel about the outlawing of those hip drop tackles, huh? Hip drop tackles, Bill.
As you know, I absolutely hate it. I hate it. You didn't know that, but you just knew I would say that.
Oh,
you and I haven't talked about it. But you know what I really don't like about it more than trying to outlaw the tackle? It makes it a subjective decision on the tackle. And that they're making it more and more like that. The refs are already not good. And now you're going to, I'll tell you what, when you tackle Pat Mahomes, it'll be a hip drop. When you tackle the kid in Buffalo, the big quarterback, Josh Allen, it'd be okay.
I hear you.
It makes it subjective. And when those kind of rules are put in place, they have a chance to swing big games. Now they can't get pass interference right. Now we're going to make them make judgment calls on making tackles.
Bill, you may find this hard to believe, but I absolutely agree with you 100% on this. And you know who else agrees with us? Ray Didinger. And I'm going to play this entire cut right here. Ray Diddy, I don't think you heard this, was on with the WIP morning crew yesterday. And Ray was asked about this whole situation, and here's what he had to say.
They're worried about scoring in the NFL. Scoring has gone down each of the last 3 years. And I can tell you from having been at NFL Films for 12 years and having sat in on a lot of meetings, everything is about driving scores up, 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 because they think that's what TV viewers want. They think they want higher scoring games. So when they see points declining, which they have for the last 3 years, immediately they say, how can we get more scoring back in the game? Okay, why don't we make a league that's already a bad tackling league worse? Let's do that. Let's see how that works out. You're going to have officials on the field that are going to have to be trying to make these judgment calls about intent. What's he trying to do? Was he trying to hurt the guy? Is that really what he wanted to do? On the fly? Are you kidding me? It's going to lead to more penalties, more questions, more replays where people are going to be saying, that's not that. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. The game comes to a dead stop.
Yeah.
I hate it. You can't argue against the idea of trying to make it a safer game. I mean, who could be opposed to that? I want that too. But do it within the realm of common sense. To me, this is not common sense.
Ray Diddy, right on.
We're right on. Absolutely. I'm with him. And Chet, I never watched the XFL, so I can't speak much to this kickoff thing, except that I love special teams. I think special teams is fun football. When a team, regardless of where you're playing, opens the second half with an onside kick as a surprise, now you can't do that anymore. And
exactly, that is the one big drawback here. How you can't do an onside kick with this new setup. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they've outlawed it, and you can't tell me that you're reducing injuries by outlawing onside kicks. They happen about 5 times a season. but when they do happen and they work, they're great plays. And
Right.
and to me, it's almost like you're going to try to score points, as Ray said, and I think you're going to see a lot more kickoff returns, a lot of things like that are going to change games around. That it's almost kind of like they're really not part of football as we know football. It's not an offense defense. It's a funky trick special teams deal.
Yeah, so a couple of changes. We'll see what it all means. But yeah, we both hate that tackling thing. You know what else I hate, Bill? I hate the way the Sixers have looked most games lately.
Well, you should, because as we said, they have fallen to 8th place in the East. They're 18 games behind with so much promise early on, and now they're looking like they're going to be a play-in team. It can't end soon enough to me.
Yeah, they're certainly, I think, going to be either 6th, 7th, or 8th. I think they're safe from the 9th spot, and they're not going to catch the Magic in 5th. So they got to hope that the Pacers, come back down to earth a little bit. And the Sixers are right there with the Heat, essentially tied for 7th, but the Heat have the tiebreaker. So, yeah, it's not looking great for the Sixers. And we still don't know with any certainty what the situation is with Embiid. Nick Nurse was asked about it today. He said basically Joel is working and, trying to get back into playing shape, but they did not yet give a timetable as far as, is he going to play the last 3 or 4 games of the season? So they're keeping that under wraps, and nobody seems to know. And, as we've discussed the last few weeks, if he's not back and close to 100%, they got no shot of getting out of the first round, maybe even the play-in round.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it, when you had the standings up there, they're so misleading because they were so good at the beginning of the year. They're up there fighting for first and second place. They were so good. What's that, 72 games? If you look over the last 40 games, say, or 30 or 40 games, I mean, they're probably playing, lost 3 out of every 4 games. To drop from 1 or 2 games out to 18 games out, that's pretty hard to do.
They lost 3 out of 4 out west, pretty much what I expected. And now tonight they've got the Clippers in a revenge game back in Philly. James Harden's return to Philly. Then they go back on the road Friday and Sunday in Cleveland and Toronto. So a lot of road games of late. I told you last week, I'm a little depressed about the Sixers. If the big guy comes back, then we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll surprise me.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. I just don't think they're good enough. And if he does come back, is there enough time to even get it together to do anything? I think this season is pretty well lost at this point. And it's a shame. It really is a shame
because they were playing great. He was having another MVP season, but he just can't stay healthy.
That's right. All right, let's move on. Let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang, as always, has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, we got it every night. We even got some lacrosse in there as well. We got everything covered, Chet. Lots of Birds talk too, as we get ready for the draft and of course the Phillies starting their season as well.
The draft, Bill, is less than a month away, if you can believe that. April 25th or thereabouts.
That's right. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the Edge of Philly Sports weekly newsletter. Sign up for free. You'll receive the EOP weekly review in your email every Friday morning. And Chet, what else is going on over at the Irish Rover Station House? Because I know as baseball kicks off, they'll be getting things going.
Yeah, you know this. The Irish Rover, every Thursday through Sunday, has terrific dinner specials. A lot of new additions to the menu recently, by the way. They have made some changes. Every Thursday, you can choose from a couple of killer burgers. You know that they have Quizzo every Wednesday evening for the folks who aren't listening to us at home. Quizzo every Wednesday, live music on Saturdays, Rachel and Ty providing the tunes this weekend. On Tuesday, the 26th, there's another fun paint and sip event at the Rover, which is always a big hit. And take note, if you won't be at the Phillies game Friday afternoon, you can watch it at the Irish Rover, where you'll find some great beer specials on Bud Light, and Mick Ultra. And get this, $2 hot dogs. Yes, special $2 hot dogs at the Rover for Friday's Phillies opener. The Irish Rover Station House, located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and the website, irishroverstationhouse.com. And now, Bill, here's an old friend of ours.
Hey, congratulations to Bill and Chet on the 10th anniversary of Phillies Press Box Radio. It's amazing where you guys have come from. In fact, your studio is better than most studios now. Success pays for success. Congratulations, guys.
How about that? That's the first time I've seen that too. So
more to come. We have some other surprises over the next month because, yeah, Bill, we are celebrating our 10th anniversary. Our first show was April 30th of 2014. So we'll kind of celebrate that a little bit on May 1st, which is the following day because that's a Wednesday. So, yeah, 10 years we've been doing this, Bill. We're starting to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You got guys like T-Mac and Ray Diddy and Merle all doing little spots for us. That's cool too.
Yeah, a lot of Philly legends helping us out.
That's right. Hey, Chet, I want to throw this up here from Joe. I read the new kickoff rules. They didn't outlaw the onside kick. They just have to let the referee know in advance. I'm not sure how that works, right?
Because of the whole lineup, the way you set things up. So.
Right. Joe, if you're here still, send us another note of how that works, because my understanding is the kicker is by himself down the other end of the field, basically, and everybody else lines up 20 or 30 yards in front of him. Is that right?
It's a weird setup. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, Joe, if you have more info, send it along. Hey, Chet, the Flyers, man, wow, they're in a battle down the stretch after last night's overtime loss. They did pick up a point against the Rangers, the first-place Rangers. The Capitals, they won in overtime. They have 2 games in hand. 1 point separates them. Flyers in the lead. But, man, Chet, last night, the Flyers for the first 2 periods went toe-to-toe, outplayed the Rangers, but had a 2-1 lead. Then it was like a shooting gallery in the third period, but a lot of goals. Ends up 6-5, and the Flyers fall. They needed, they need all the points at this point.
You know, it was funny. I did not have the game on at first. I had some other crap on the TV while I was starting to prep for our little show, and I checked the score online, and I saw that it was 2-1 after 2 periods. So I turned the game on a few minutes later, and it was 4-3 Rangers. I said, what the hell happened? That was like 9 minutes in the third period. And then I kept it on, and, the Flyers tied it. The Rangers went ahead. The Flyers tied it. It went to overtime, and Flyers lost a heartbreaker. The good news, they did pick up that 1 point, but as we put up the NHL standings, now the Flyers are actually in the Metropolitan Division, so they are still in third place in the Metro, but as you said, just 1 point ahead of the Capitals, who have 2 games in hand. The Flyers are 7th overall in the Eastern Conference, so you want to be, either in the third spot in your division or one of those next 2 wild card teams. So they really have to worry about, the Red Wings and the Devils, who are behind the top 8, I guess. And as you said, it's going down to the wire. Just 9 games left in the regular season. Now, Bill, the good news for the Flyers is the upcoming schedule. I have that somewhere, and of course I can't find it right now, but their next 6 games are against non-playoff teams. Good. So that works in their favor, but of course you still have to go out and win those games that you should be favored in.
Right, and their last 6 or so games have been very difficult. There you go.
Yep. That's the next 5.
Yep, and the 6 games they just went through, they had Boston, they had the Rangers, they had Florida, they had Tampa. They had a whole tough run of games. So they're through that. They're still holding the spot. Good news is if they do get passed over by the Capitals with the games in hand, they are still ahead of the Red Wings. So, and I think the Red Wings have 1 game in hand, but more than 2 points behind. So, I think a big question has come up. As good as he's played at time, is can Sam Ersson take this team into the playoffs? And against these really good teams, they've given up a lot of goals.
Yeah, they have. And, Ersson may be getting a little tired now because he's getting the bulk of the action. And, when he's not in there, their backups are not great right now. But how about the news the other day that that Russian goalie is coming over to the Flyers system? And I heard, I think it was Joe Santoliquito on with Glenn over the weekend, that the Flyers may actually consider, having him play some games in Lehigh Valley. And if all goes well, consider activating him for the very end of the regular season and into the playoffs if he's up to it. So that'll be interesting.
Well, don't turn this into a Kirkering deal.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of like what it is. Yeah.
Playing for 2 weeks and all of a sudden you think he can do everything and he goes and gets his doors blown off. Let's not do that. Let's play better defense and score more goals.
That'd be nice too. Yeah, I looked at the schedule for the beyond those 5 games that I posted. The Flyers play their final game of the season against those Washington Capitals. I forget where it's at, but I mean that could decide a playoff spot for one of those teams.
Absolutely, it'll be fun. And I'll tell you, Chet, they've been fun to watch. I'll give them that. I hope this work. They've earned a playoff spot up to this point. I hope they don't collapse down the stretch here in the last 9, but. Boy, they've been fun to watch all season long, and hard workers and never out of the game, never quit.
Yep. And, over these next 5 games, I really want to see them get, 7 out of a possible 10 points at a minimum because they're better than those teams. So you got to win the games that you need to win.
Absolutely. All right. Let's tell us what's going on with the best tailgaters in Philadelphia, Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Yeah, Bill, Cav, good old Bob, has been cooking up a terrific catering business now for more than 30 years. He's known for his tailgate parties, of course. Cav's a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest. And he's a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and parties, you name it. As for upcoming events, as you know, they will be doing tailgate before the Phillies opener. It's not the 28th now. It is the 29th this Friday. And then there's WrestleMania, the 2-night event. And June 8th, Kenny Chesney. And Cav will also be doing lots more over the summer. He will be updating his website very, very soon regarding that. Order your tickets for all these events through phillytailgates.com. Check the site. And if you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Catering and Cavs Philly Tailgates, the way to go. You know that Cav also works with Vince at Philly Sports Trips. Well, they are the folks to use for Eagles road games and more. And did I put their new schedule up? Boy, I hope so, because they got so much going on. Phillies sports trips. They got trips to Nashville and Boston, Baltimore, Chicago, Pittsburgh. Oh, yeah, London. They will get you to Brazil for the Phillies, or rather the Eagles season opener in Brazil the first week of September. So keep that in mind. Cav and Vince, they do it all, and good guys to boot. There you go, Bill.
Hey, Chet, since you mentioned Brazil, I wanted to go back there for just a second. To the Eagles, I forgot that. I made a note and I slipped over it. What do you make of the Eagles going to Brazil, and they're going to be on Peacock? So the rest of the world outside of Philadelphia can't watch it.
Well, we know this is happening. It's the NFL just trying to make more money because they don't have quite enough yet, Bill. So yeah, they're going to put random games on streaming services. Last year, one of the wild card playoff games was on Peacock. This coming year, one of the wild card games will be on Amazon, but Peacock gets this Eagles, probably Browns opponent, game on Friday, September 6th in Brazil. I know a lot of people don't like it, and I understand that. The good news for Philadelphia area people, it will be on NBC 10, so you don't need Peacock. You can watch it on your local NBC affiliate. That's the same situation for the folks in Cleveland or whoever they're playing at that time. But yeah, I know it ticks a lot of people off because they would have to, pay $5.99 for a month of Peacock, which they may not want to do.
Yeah, and like you say, it's not going to hurt the Philly people, but I don't know a lot about business, obviously, because the NFL is a billion-dollar business, but it seems to me if it's opening night and I want to get people to be thinking about football, I'd want everybody to be able to watch it and not and not get to see the game. Kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's already not football season. So, right. you got to get the people going, right? I mean, you would think, but maybe they think you're going to get off your $6 or whatever it is to watch it because you can't live without football. And that's what all this craziness is all about. They think that we can't do without this stuff. All these pro teams.
They gambled on it for the wild card game, and they got 23 million new subscribers. Are people paying just for that, or I don't know if that was the total number or what? But they said it was a big success, so they figure, what the heck? We'll try it with this game in Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to keep digging in our pockets as much as they can.
Oh,
that's for sure. Well, hey, Chet, there's not much like opening day at the ballpark. Friday it'll be now. We're looking for tomorrow. Against those Atlanta Braves, and you'll be there. I know you are excited to hit the ballpark every opening day.
I love opening day. I really do. Other than the weather, of course, which I said always or almost always seems to be kind of crappy this time of year, especially when the Phillies have a opening game at home. I think I've been to 16 of the 20 home openers at Citizens Bank Park. This is year number 21 at CBP. I don't know how that happened already, 21 years. It has always been fun to meet up with a bunch of friends for the opener, do some tailgating, cheer on the Phils, and it's particularly fun when the team is pretty good, which, they should be once again this year. So, yeah, I'm excited, even though I may have to wear an extra layer or two of clothing that I would rather not do. But, hey, it is what it is.
I can tell you, Chet, of course, I moved away, a long time ago. I have been to one opening day ever, and it was not in Philly.
Really?
It was the Phillies at the Pirates. When I was working out in Pittsburgh, and I went to the Phillies at the Pirates opening day. I've never been to an opening day in Philadelphia.
Never even at the Vet in all those years?
Nope.
That I would have lost that bet. That shocks me.
Yeah, it shocks me too. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, you never been to opening day at the ballpark except
wow,
at PNC Park. Go figure.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, hey, you had a chance to visit with the radio voice of the Phillies, Scott. I'm going to say it. Bedlam at the bank, Franzke, to talk 2024 Phils.
Yeah, always great to talk with Scott. He's just so good at what he does. He is clearly ready for the season. I should note that we talked before the Jordan Montgomery news came down that he's signing with the D-backs. But here's my chat with Scott. As we get set for a highly anticipated 2024 baseball season, I'm happy to chat for a sixth straight spring, by the way, with the radio voice of your Philadelphia Phillies. It's Scott Franzke. Hey, Scott, great to see you again. How do you enjoy another late winter, early spring down in Clearwater and the surrounding area?
It was pretty nice. For what time I was there, I tend to fly back and forth a lot. But I was down there. I got back last night. I've been down there for 10, 11 days or so to wrap up camp. And yeah, it was good. Until the very end, relatively healthy camp. Not a ton of storylines really to follow, but sometimes that's good too. A lack of drama, if you will. That's okay too.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Phillies rotation, first of all. A rotation that has, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, both in the fold for the next 3+ years now. And Ranger Suarez, 1, 2, 3 should be pretty good, I would think. What do you expect from those guys this year?
They all look great in the spring. I mean, Zach's been working on some stuff, adding in a split, change up, off-speed pitch. And he's really working hard at it. And, if he figures that out, good luck to the hitters because he's already among a handful of guys that, for me, that I would want on the mound in a big game. I've always been a Nola fan. I know he's taken his hits in this town and some ups and downs, but I'm glad he's back. I think that kind of workload is almost impossible to replace these days. you just don't find those guys. And Ranger, a full healthy spring, and I think with a lot to, I don't want to say a lot to prove, but he's next up on the payday list, I guess, if you look at starters, and I think he's always been somewhat underrated. I don't know that a lot of people outside of Philly and maybe the clubs that see him on a regular basis in the division really realize how good Ranger Suarez is. But I think it's, as far as big three go, they're right there with any other club in baseball, I think.
Hey, with Taijuan Walker on the shelf for a little while, it'll be Spencer Turnbull behind Christopher Sanchez now as the number 5 starter. He did pitch a no-hitter a few years ago, but otherwise the 31-year-old Turnbull has not exactly had a stellar career, 12-29, an ERA above 4.5. Should Dave Dombrowski be looking for another starter?
Well, they're always looking for more starters. That make no mistake about that. But at what price? I know a lot of people keep bringing up Jordan Montgomery, but money is a factor, and contracts are a factor in this game, and they sort of play into the whole thing. So I'll say this about Spencer Turnbull. He was a guy that was a good developing young starter and then got hurt and hasn't really put it back together since being hurt. But I think he feels like he's healthier now than he's been in a few years. And if he can, keep that health, I think the Phillies feel like this is a buy low kind of situation, and it's all upside where Turnbull is concerned. And they didn't put a lot of pressure on him to, you got to do this to make the rotation. He was ticketed for the bullpen or maybe even the AAA rotation from the very beginning of spring training. And only because of the injury to Walker is he, in line to be one of the 5 guys coming out of the gates. But I think they feel like they perhaps have found somebody that can be a, nothing but upside kind of player.
Well, speaking of pitching, there was a weekend MLB.com story citing Fangraph and the WAR metric and all that stuff. They said that heading into the season, the best bullpen in baseball belongs to, believe it or not, the Phillies. Can that be true?
I guess it can be true. I feel like you can manipulate the numbers and whatever narrative you want to tell, there's probably a number that will back you up, support your narrative. But to me, it's a good bullpen. It's a really good bullpen. Is it the best in baseball? Time will tell. Health plays into that. Jose Alvarado, for instance, one of the great relievers on the squad, twice had to go on the IL last year, and they managed his workload very, very carefully, somewhat in response to those 2 trips to the IL. So, those kinds of things over a 162 game season, they're going to happen. Those guys will go down here and there. They'll need a breather, if you will, and a reset and maybe some IL time for this, that, or the other. But I think they feel like, again, they're good. The top tier is really good. I think it becomes so often a bullpen is measured by, how good the closer is and the top 2 setup guys. And I think they feel like they've got 3 to 4 pitchers at the end of a game that they trust. But sometimes the real bullpen numbers come in when that second layer of relievers really show what they can do. And whether it's Connor Brogdon or Junior Marte, even Luis Ortiz as a long man, throwing strikes, getting outs, being efficient, that all plays in. But I think they can be good. We'll see if they will be.
You said there wasn't much drama this spring, but one of the big questions was, should Johan Rojas, great defensively, not so great with the bat, be the center fielder? Rob Thompson and company apparently think yes. So how long will they stick with Rojas if he does struggle at the plate?
Tough question to answer, only because we've seen that he struggled mightily in spring training, and yet he still won the job. He can't, you wouldn't think, put up those kind of numbers over a month or 2 months without them having to seriously consider. I think one thing that Rob Thompson gets concerned about with a young player is what happens mentally with that player. If he gets buried, if he's struggling, if he can't sort of get out of an early hole. Another factor to consider is, he's working closely with Kevin Long, and I think part of it, they want to keep that work relationship going rather than hand him off to somebody at AAA to take care of it. They want that progression to still be firsthand knowledge, and watch him day in and day out, and work with him on in the cage day in and day out. So that's part of it. But again, if he struggles out of the gate, and if he looks closer to what he looked like in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, I think they'll have to consider it, whether it's a month or 6 weeks in. But if he's holding his head above water, his defense means a lot to this team. And if he's keeping his head above water offensively, then I think they ride it out.
We know pretty much what we're going to get from guys like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. What about the shortstop, who had a rather atypical Trey Turner kind of season his first year with the Phillies? What do you expect from him this year?
Well, I know he's really worked hard the last month on his defense, day in and day out, to try to improve defensively. I think he was frustrated by the slow start offensively, and maybe that kind of took precedence, and I think maybe it played over into his defense a little bit. He's looking to be much better defensively. He knows he can be better defensively. Is he going to win a Gold Glove? Maybe not, but he certainly, I think, is better than what he showed us last season defensively. He has those sorts of skills and abilities, and he's really taking that to heart. It would be a lot to ask for him to do what he did over the last 2 months. But I think the idea is that he's just a little more consistent, and he's better overall, doesn't get buried early on. And he's certainly more comfortable now. He understands the city and the franchise and the fan base and all these other things. And a little bit like Castellanos the year before, he's made the adjustment and feels like he's more comfortable now. At least that's what he said. So can he be what he was the last 2 months? Yeah, but that's an MVP player. And if the Phillies get that out of him, this is going to be a fun year.
Well, Rob Thompson and some of the Phillies players say, yes, they really do want to win the NL East this year rather than take the wild card route again. Is it important?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think it's a goal worth trying to get. I mean, I don't think you can constantly go into the playoffs and expect to suddenly beat the Atlanta Braves and in a 4-game, 5-game series. Is it the be all end all? No, but I think it would be good for them to compete and, again, not get buried and get into the month of June and July and still be a factor in the division race. I think that would be great. It's a worthwhile goal, and then it gets you even another round of home field advantage and Red October and all that stuff. So it's a goal worth pursuing. I mean, the Braves are going to be tough, though. I mean, they're still really good. So, but I mean, I think if the Phillies are healthy, relatively healthy, and if they play sort of to their career norms, I don't see why they can't compete for it. Again, as long as they don't get buried, kind of early in the season. The old cliche, you can't win the pennant in April, but you could lose it. And I think they did the last couple of years, and they're hoping to avoid that again.
Well, last thing, Scott, I don't remember exactly when or where I heard this about you, but it stuck with me, and I found it, very troubling, frankly. Maybe I got it wrong. Again, very disconcerting. Is it true that you don't like tomato soup?
I don't. I've never had a particularly affinity for it. I don't know where you're getting that information, but
I don't remember either.
I wouldn't say it's something I would ever order.
Oh, there you go.
That's for sure.
That's un-American, Scott.
Yeah. I would opt for more of a clam chowder or something, like tortilla soup or something along those lines.
All right. Well, Scott, have a great season. The broadcast crew again, you and Kevin Stocker most of the time on the road, LA and you for home games. It's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, let's hope. Thanks for having me as always.
Hey, Chet, one comment I have to add in there. Rojas did not win the job. He was given the job.
That's true.
We got to clear that up. But hey, as a follow-up to some of that, I've said this for years and years, 10 actually, on this show, that I'm not a big spring training guy. I enjoy going to the games because they're fun to hang out and stuff. But
right.
Players are working on their things, and all that. But I'm going to throw a couple numbers at you to chew on after a month of Florida baseball. Castellanos 119, Schwarber 132, Rojas 170, Harper 179, and Stott was the big hitter at 200. And Schwarber particularly, Chet, I looked this up, 5 hits all spring. 5 hits, no home runs. No home runs. He hit 132. He batted 38 times and had 20 strikeouts.
Whoa, I did not realize the strikeout total was that high.
That's concerning. Like you say,
I know it's spring training.
They work on stuff, but geez.
That is not good. And I know the wins don't matter either, but they won one of their last 12 games or something like that.
Well, that doesn't matter. Heck, five of them ended up in ties. So I don't pay any attention to that. The game I was at, they were throwing AAA guys or AA guys in the 8th and 9th
hitting numbers. Yikes.
Yeah, but guy gets up there in the batter's box, he's still trying to get hits, and no matter what you're working on, that's a little troubling. Now, I will say this overall, and you probably won't say it because you were here on a pretty beautiful long weekend. It was a bit of a cooler spring here. Really, overall for the month, it wasn't quite as warm, I don't think. It's maybe not hitting season, as Charlie says, but it's something to keep an eye on, I think, as we get started. And Schwarber's going to go in that leadoff spot. We're almost certain of that. And you can't be striking out 20 out of 38 at bats and hit 132 and not hitting home runs.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about those numbers. And they got to get it going real quick. I mean, because they have Atlanta, obviously, this weekend. But then they got a bunch of games that should be very winnable. And you want to get off to a fast start because, when you have a lot of cupcakes early in the season, that means the schedule is going to get a little tougher as you move into, May and June. So let's not fall behind like you did the last couple of years. How about we get off to like a 20-10 start in the first month?
Yeah, well, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? And maybe, and as you were talking, you and Scott were talking, the pitching, the 5-man rotation looks like it might be pretty good. And they all pitched pretty well in the spring again, as they're working on their things and didn't throw a ton of innings. But if the pitching's okay, you got to be able to hit too.
Yeah, but the pitching has looked good, especially those top 3 guys I'm real excited about. I mean, Suarez didn't give up a run, I don't think, all spring. Wheeler looked real good his last couple of starts. Nola had his ups and downs, but I think Nola's going to be fine. So pitching is not my big concern. My concern is the hitting. We always say, well, they got so much offense, but every year we're saying that, and then they end up going through these big droughts.
Yeah, and again, that's the troubling part to me. The pitchers, I think, will be okay. They, think about pitchers. They'll come out and maybe they're working on a certain type of pitch, a new pitch, and they'll go out and throw 3 innings and throw 80% of that new pitch just to work on it, in spring training. So that doesn't trouble me quite as much as you ought to be able to hit. And that,
I think this guy's going to have a big year, Alec Boehm. I feel real good about him this year. I don't know why. I just think he's going to have a breakout season. He finally got to the 20 home run mark last year. I think he's going to build on that this year and, hopefully have a great year.
Yeah, me too. And I think Marcia's going to be good. And I think Stott's going to be good, but that top of the lineup, that 9-1 spot has got to hit.
Yeah. I think
All
we'll
right.
see Mayor Whitfield a couple of times this weekend, perhaps, because a couple of tough lefties going Saturday and Sunday for Atlanta. So, Whitfield might get a start at second in one of the games and maybe in the outfield.
He better not
for the
start
other
at
game.
second base. He better not start, or
I know you hate.
I'm breaking a flat screen. It ain't gonna be pretty.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
know.
sitting Stott in the first weekend of the year,
Yeah, not that soon.
You don't deserve my attention.
I hear you. Not that soon. Maybe later in the year when you want to give the guy a blow, but not that.
Well,
first
one
weekend.
game here and there, but don't be putting him in there.
And Stott hits
platooning him.
lefties pretty well too. So
Yeah, don't be platooning Stott. The guy's got a chance to be a really, really good hitter.
You ready for our predictions, Bill?
Yeah, it's time. This is our fearless forecast time to make our prediction on Phillies wins, playoffs, World Series, maybe. What do you have?
Well, let me tell you this, first of all. Last year, Atlanta, of course, pretty much ran away with the East. They won 104 games. The Phillies won 90, so 14-game difference. Now, this year, I'm going to put this up, Bill. This is the MLB over-under numbers for some of the top teams. The Dodgers, right around 103. The Braves, again, over 100, right around 101.5 from just about everybody. As for the Phillies, down the bottom of this particular list, everybody's at 89.5. Of course, the site I used had them at 90 at the time, BetMGM. I did bet over, I'll tell you that, and I'll give you my exact number in a bit. But yeah, 89.5, the official over-under number for the Phillies, which I found surprising considering that they won 90 games last year. And I think they're at least as good this year, with a full season, theoretically, of Bryce Harper and some other, positive additions. So I was surprised by that number. As far as the win predictions from some other people that you might be interested in, Jim Salisbury, the great writer for a long time, covered the Phils. He's going with 92 wins for your Phillies. Jack Fritz, I didn't get a number from him, but he said the Phils will win the NL East. Another WIP and his high hopes partner, James Seltzer, my good pal. James says 93 wins and the NL East. And our buddy, Boop, Bob Vitrone Jr., he is feeling very optimistic. Boop says 97 wins and the NL East title for Boop. So, what say you, Bill Furman?
Other than Harper being there all year, and I think Turner will be better, I don't see this team being a whole lot better than they were. I'm going to go with 90. I'm going to say they're going to be right where they were last year.
You say 90. Robert Moses says 90. All right. I thought you'd go higher, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought I would too. But when I think about the whole thing, I'm not sure.
All right.
The manager will probably cost them 10 games, but that's
here we go.
We'll go with that another night.
When I wrote it down yesterday, I wrote 94, but today I changed it to 93 and a wild card spot. I don't think they're going to beat out the Braves, so I'm going 93 and a wild card berth again this year.
I'll go wild card. I think they'll win the wild card.
Yeah.
I don't think they're better than the Braves. I don't think they did enough to be better than the Braves. So, but I think they'll still be in there, and I'll sure be rooting for them. And I love Red October.
I hope Boop is right. I would love to see 97 wins in the NL East title. That would be nice. Get a few days off between, the first playoff round. That would be great.
That would be great. All right. Hey,
PJ says 93. Robbie says 93 in the NL East. So a lot of optimism. Okay. That's good.
All right. Well, hey, great guest tonight in Scott Franzke. Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week, Jed?
Well, next week, Bill, the Flyers season is winding down, so we haven't talked to this guy in about a year. Bill Meltzer making a return visit to our program next week, 7 p.m., our first show of April as we kick off our 10th anniversary month. Bill Meltzer will join us. We very likely will have a second guest as well that has not quite yet been firmed up, but it will be a baseball person, sort of.
We'll be really going down the stretch when we see Bill next week. We'll be down into probably 5 or 6 games left by then.
Yep, that is right.
We're gonna know a lot more next Wednesday than we know this Wednesday.
Hey, Bill, I'm going to throw something else in here right here, okay?
Oh, here we go.
Not an official random Chet, but a couple of people today are celebrating birthdays, Bill, and they both happen to be celebrating birthdays number 61. One of them is this guy, one of my favorite Eagles of all time, Randall Cunningham, man, 61 years old. He gave us so many great memories, so we say happy birthday to Randall. And the other guy celebrating a birthday is the guy who was behind all of these movies, Quentin Tarantino, turning 61. And Bill, I'm putting these pictures of his movies on the screen. Please tell me you've seen at least a couple of those. Pulp Fiction, maybe?
I saw the Kill Bills.
Okay.
I saw Pulp Fiction.
All right. That's 3 then.
I think that's it.
Okay. I've seen 8 out of the 10. The only ones I did not see. Oh, actually, no, I saw 9 out of the 10. I never saw Jackie Brown, and that's a shame. Our old pal, the late, great John Roberts, said I had to see Jackie Brown, and I still haven't gotten around to see it. I got to be honest. I didn't love Death Proof. That was good, but I didn't love it. I really enjoyed all the other movies of the other 8 that I had seen. Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, the Kill Bill movies, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, all great. Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained, very good as well. The Hateful Eight wasn't bad. Western set post-Civil War, that was also pretty good. So Quentin Tarantino, man, he has rarely disappointed. I enjoyed all those movies.
I'd have been a lot happier if you'd have gone through all that detail with Randall Cunningham than those movies. But, that's just me. Hey, the March Madness is right on us, Chet, and it has been mad. All the brackets were blown up on day one when Kentucky lost. After day 2, I believe it was the ESPN had 2 million brackets or whatever, had 0 perfect brackets left.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at my bracket since I filled it out. I did one for CBS. I didn't put any money on it. I didn't pay any money to enter a bracket anywhere. I know I picked Houston to win it all because Boop convinced me. I think Boop is he's the guy who said Houston. So I said, yeah, Boop seems to know stuff, but maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Some good games, certainly. I enjoyed a little bit of what I saw. I watched the Caitlin Clark women's game the other night when they scored the last 8 or 9 points of the game to win that one in her final game at Iowa. So that was kind of fun. I'm enjoying what I've seen.
Yeah, I think the games have been pretty good. I have not really been able to sit down and watch much of a whole game of anything. I've been back working a lot, but I have watched a bunch of parts of games, and it's been good. The fact that the 12s are beating the 5s and those things, that's always good. I think it's good for.
Wasn't too much of that this year. There was only there's only I think one double-digit seed left. I guess NC State, right?
Yeah.
So.
But there was first round upsets.
Yeah, there were
and then they got knocked off in the second round. Grand Canyon State and Duquesne and some of them,
Yep. Yeah, it was good to see Yale get a
round 1 win
anyway.
Yep. Blow up them brackets.
Yeah. So.
All right. Anything else you got before we wrap her up?
Hope everybody enjoys the opening weekend of baseball as far as the non-South Korea version. I'll be there Friday, so look for me in the parking lot. I'll be hanging out with our old pal Bill Barnes and some other folks, as we do pretty much every year. Hopefully the weather will be nice Friday, not too windy, and go Phils.
There you go. Hey, and next week, Chet, we'll spend a minute. We'll talk about Ohtani.
Oh, yeah. The whole betting thing. Yeah. There's going to be more coming out on that. You know that.
Yeah, that's why I figured we'd wait a little longer and see how this all plays out, because it's going to be interesting. It
is. Wrap it up, Bill.
It looks like it could be him. All right, let's thank tonight's special guest, Scott Franzke. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover, Station House, the Cavs. Oh, my goodness. Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and PPCC 118 Raz Room. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, April the 3rd at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook, on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel, or listen on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and let's go Phillies.
I hope he had